On a summer morning in 1980, a high school employee in California noticed what looked like a mannequin lying near an embankment along the parking lot. But it wasn't a mannequin. It was the body of a young woman who had been brutally murdered and left behind without a name. For decades, investigators searched for the truth about who she was. And somewhere, a family searched for the sister they had lost. In 2026, those two stories finally met. This is her story.
Hi, I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Amy.
And you're listening to She Goes by Jane. At the end of this episode and every episode, we will be joined by a special guest who will read an original poem by Amy Baker about the women we're featuring.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Amy.
Vanessa, we have been fortunate to have had a few case updates recently.
We have.
And today is yet another.
So this is a case we've covered in the past.
It is.
And we're going to get an update.
Yes, a pretty massive update. And I am so happy because this was done through the work of the DNA Doe Project, who has been working on this case for years. And to see kind of the whole thing come together is gratifying. And I'm thankful that the woman's name is found and her family has found her because this is one of our unidentified Jane Doe cases who's now been identified.
Well, and a lot of those, the time with the unidentified Jane Does, you really don't have a ton of information.
Yeah.
So I know that's one of the struggles we've had in the past where you're like, I really wish I had more to say about this woman.
Right.
But I have nothing.
Right. And this is a case that really benefited from a lot of investigators and a lot of investigative genetic genealogists caring deeply about this case. I just don't know if that's always the case with a lot of the Jane Does. So there is sometimes that lack of information because there's just like nothing percolating,
right?
I would say. So this is one that we've done relatively recently. So I am shocked that this was finally solved. So gratified. And I can't wait to tell you about it. We're going to talk about the case kind of from start to finish. So if you have not listened to the episode that we did on Ventura County Jane Doe, that is fine. We're going to sort of summarize the case and then I'll tell you who she is, what we know about her, and how the case came together.
Sounds good.
On July 18th, 1980, parents of Thousand Oak, California's Westfield High School's varsity football team members gathered to watch a scrimmage take place on one of the game fields. As they waved off the afternoon heat and tried to focus on the game taking place behind them in the parking lot, a different drama was taking place. At around 12:40 that afternoon, a school maintenance worker had been laboring away at the school's landscaping that bordered the parking lot. There in the brush, he spotted a mannequin. The man likely sighed with frustration. Recent budget constraints at the school meant the school had been keeping the parking lights off at night. Sure, it was a cost savings measure, but it meant there was a lot more vandalism and things like this, people dumping trash in the parking areas. As he made his way closer, the maintenance worker got a better look at what lay on the nearby embankment. This was no mannequin, he realized. There in the dirt was the body of a young woman, her skin pale, her body stiff. Soon, the sounds of the football scrimmage were interrupted by sirens of an ambulance and fire truck, the first responders on the scene. And then the police arrived. What they found was a young woman who had been partially undressed. She was covered in blood. Later, they would learn she had been stabbed 16 times with injuries covering all sides of her body. And then the horror worsened. The young woman had been pregnant at the time of the attack. Though an intensive investigation was quickly launched, officers quickly realized they'd be struggling to answer two questions. Who killed her and who was she? The answer to those questions would take years to find. It would be decades before they pinpointed her killer, and years more until she got her name back. In 1980, she would become known as Ventura County Jane Doe, or sometimes Westfield Jane Doe, and as the years passed, hope began to fade that she would ever be identified. That is until 2018, when the DNA Doe Project took over her case. The DNA Doe Project is one of the most successful organizations working in the field of investigative genetic genealogy, utilizing DNA connections and genealogy to identify unidentified individuals. And now, after 7 years, in what they described as their most difficult case yet, the DNA Doe Project has done it yet again and given a woman her name back. She is Maricela Rocha Parga. And this is the story of how she went missing and was found again.
So this is their most difficult case yet, they say, and it took 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did they say why that was like so difficult for them with this case?
Yeah, so basically what the DNA Doe Project does, along with other investigative genealogy groups, is they utilize public DNA databases. So not Ancestry, not 23andMe, but places where people upload their DNA.
Okay.
In all of the databases, whether they're private or publicly uploaded ones, Hispanic people are dramatically underrepresented. And they identified pretty quickly that she was of Mexican descent. So that's part of the problem, is that, you know, if you upload mine anywhere, which I have done because I think it's important, immediately you can see my like second cousins, my first cousins.
So there's a lot. Like if you went missing, there'd be a ton of...
Yeah, it would be pretty easy to ascertain who my relatives are. But with this Jane Doe in specific, they did not have that. They had very distant relatives.
So how would they do it in that case, like to fill in those gaps?
Yeah, so they have to build a massive, and I mean massive, family tree of what they ended up with, and we'll talk more in depth about it, was a family tree of 125,000 people.
Oh, wow. So are they finding like one person and then contacting that one person to get more information? And like piecing it together that way?
What they're doing is kind of like building the pieces together. So like they'll find a very distant relative and they'll build back that person's family tree, and another distant relative and build back that person's family tree, until they kind of are able to come up with like places those things intersect, where they can kind of pull together like, where does she might fit into this massive 125,000 person tree.
So it really would take 7 years to do something like this.
Yeah.
Like you're building a huge family tree and kind of trying to pinpoint one tiny little person on it.
Yeah. And then what we're going to learn later is like how they actually then narrow it down to her, right? Like how do you find her amongst this?
Right. So we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah. So it took so many hours of time to build it out because, you know, I've been working on my personal family tree forever. And just the labor taken to like do any of that. Like I still don't even know how some of my like third cousins really connect with me. So yeah, to get up to 125,000 in one single tree is a massive undertaking. So 7 years dedicated work.
And I'm guessing you're going back several generations in that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So they have to build back
as far as they can and then back forward, right?
Yep. So it's like backwards, forwards, forwards. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about just like building my own. I've been working on mine a little bit too. And yeah, it's like you keep going backwards until you can go forward again.
Yep.
And fill in all those gaps. So, okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about how kind of they did that, and not necessarily on a nitty gritty technical level, but we can get into some of it and then kind of talk about her case. So at this point, she's an unidentified woman, right? So we're at the crime scene. I'm going to try to...
So we're going back to that day when the groundskeeper thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to try not to offer too much detail here because really like this is pretty brutal. Yeah. When the Ventura County Sheriff's officers arrived on the scene that day at the local school, they could not have anticipated at the time that what they were responding to is what will end up being like almost a 50-year-long mystery. There on the embankment was the petite form of a woman. She was, again, partially dressed. She had no identification on her, and her wounds made clear that she had been stabbed, and that was the likely means of death. What was also clear from the start is that the location where the young woman was left was remarkably bloodless, despite the amount of wounds to her body. And so veterans of the police force likely knew pretty quickly it was probable she was killed elsewhere before she was brought to this school parking lot and left. It would take an official autopsy by Dr. Bruce Woodling and Dr. C. Peter Speth to ascertain just how many times she had been stabbed. Their count was 16, although I've seen it reported elsewhere as more. Wounds covered her abdomen, her stomach, and her buttocks, and it was their belief that the woman had fought back and had tried to escape. It was also at least one of these stab wounds that killed her unborn son. She had been, they estimated, 4 or 5 months pregnant.
So the baby was also killed by stab wound?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I've heard of that happening before.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of controversy about how to treat unborn babies in murder cases.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because is this a double murder or not?
Is it or not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it's going to take them longer, though, to fully reveal that she had been sexually assaulted. Like, they hedged around this for a while. I have many thoughts about this. They said that they all knew that she had had sex before she was killed, but they weren't sure whether or not it was consensual. And so finally, it was Dr. Woodling who made clear that she did have abrasions to her body that indicated that this was forced.
Okay. Why do you think they hedged around that for a while?
Oh, so one of the prevailing beliefs initially about this woman was that maybe she was a sex worker.
How would they?
I think there were some pretty broad assumptions made at the time about her identity and who she might have been.
How would you be able to see somebody?
And make that kind of...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Now, the search was on to find out who she was and who had murdered her. So since she was found less than a half a mile from the Los Angeles border, they initially thought she was from LA. But when her fingerprints weren't matched to anyone on file in LA, they began to suppose that she might have been from somewhere else, maybe a hitchhiker, perhaps. Some did suggest that she might have been from Mexico, but this was discounted because she'd had extensive dental work that was done in the U.S. But after checking missing persons reports from the area, they came up empty-handed. No one, they said, matched the unidentified woman found in the parking lot.
Can they really tell just by looking the difference between dental work done in the U.S. and dental work done in Mexico?
Yes. So dental work done in various parts of the world have different distinguishing features, like materials that they use, kind of practices that they do for your dental work, which is really interesting.
That is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Now, as for who killed her, again, there are just few clues at the time. The best possible lead that they had was they got a single phone call from someone who said that they had seen 2 motorcycles and 1 truck leave the parking lot on the night she had been left there. The caller didn't catch any license plates numbers, so they didn't have any other information than that. But when few answers surfaced in the quest to find her or her killer, her murder quickly faded from the media. Like many cases, Ventura County Jane Doe became another one of the thousands of unidentified person cases in the country, and her murder yet another unsolved homicide. It's not until the mid-2000s that things began to change. So we're going to shift the camera focus a little bit here, because sitting in prison was a man named Wilson Chouest. Now, when we originally recorded our initial episode, we were not saying perpetrator or potential perpetrator names, but Vanessa and I have made a choice recently that we felt like we were in some ways distancing these crimes from that person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chouest had a long history of violence against women. In 1977, he had picked up a woman who was hitchhiking near Topanga Canyon, and when she got in, she immediately noticed that the door handle had been removed, trapping her inside.
That's horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine.
Yeah, because that means that someone has
purposely done that.
Yeah.
So you know that that's
What's
not a great thing.
Yeah. Now, Chouest drove her to the Santa Monica Mountains, where he kicked her in the head and he choked her until she became unconscious. And then he sexually assaulted her. He left her in a remote area, but she actually survived. She reported her attack to the police. The next day, he was arrested. He pleaded guilty to assault and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Now, in June 1980, he was released early, even though his probation report warned that he was, quote, extremely dangerous, and that he demonstrated, quote, no remorse for his crimes.
So he was released even though he pleaded guilty and he was considered dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
And then that deliberate, like, taking off of the door handle just seems like he's done this before. Or,
yes.
like, that was the plan to begin with.
He had pre-planned, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't pre-plan the victim, he pre-planned the crime.
So he had been sentenced to 4 years. So this release is a little bit early, not dramatically like in some cases that we've seen.
But only 4 years for that? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, he kicked her in the head. When he left her, he probably thought she was going to die.
Yeah, and this says a lot about how...
That's 4 years.
Yeah, we approach sexual assaults, right?
But,
in the US. I know.
He trapped her thinking about it beforehand, like planning to do this. Oh, yeah, he kicked her. He choked her. Mm-hmm. He raped her. Mm-hmm. He gets 4 years and then gets out early, doesn't even finish his full 4, like...
Right. Yeah, despite them essentially being like...
Like, is that maybe where the problem starts with these repeat offenders?
Yeah, I mean, so many thoughts about what's going on here.
Right.
Now, he gets out, right? And soon after, he is living in Lemoore, California with a woman he'd actually been pen pals with while in prison.
Okay, just curiosity. Does she know about his crimes? Does she know why he was in prison? Does she know he was even in prison?
Yes. So it was...
She knows he raped somebody.
I don't know how much she knew specifically about the specifics of his crime, but she did know she was writing a prisoner because it was a prison pen pal setup thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, so that's happening in and around June. Now, that August, which is less than 2 months after his release, he approached a young woman at the College of Sequoia's campus. She had just left her night class and was on her way to the car when he approached her with a knife. And he ordered her to get into the car. And I think she took him by surprise when she just was like, nope. She refused. He then demanded her purse, but she took out $30 from her wallet and just shoved it at him before getting into her own car and like locking the doors.
Was he so stunned he just didn't pursue it?
I think he just, did not expect...
Who would expect that?
This kind of reaction. I think he had like in his head how this would all go down. She flipped the script.
I kind of want to know more about her.
Yeah, so she actually, one of the like weird things about this is that a receipt of hers was actually tucked in the money, and he ends up like creepy calling her the next day at home.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So he like traumatized her post this.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, like scared her by calling.
Well, yeah. That would be so scary.
Yeah. Like, oh, you got away, but then like...
But now he knows your number.
Right. Now, this happens, right? But then on September 4th, which is just days later, he approached another woman on the same campus. This time, it was as she was putting her keys in the ignition of her car. And he forced her to move over from the driver's seat. He duct taped her hands, and he drove them to the Sequoia shopping mall. But he was worried that someone would see him and see that he was abducting her. Mm-hmm. So then he drove her to a rural location where he raped her. After this, he said that he was sorry and told her that if she wanted to report the abduction and attack, that she should. That he wouldn't blame her if she did.
This is so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, where's this change coming from? I'm going to tape you up and rape you, but then apologize after and tell you can turn me in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the same campus. So I can't imagine being on campus at this time.
Right.
Particularly as a female student.
Did anyone catch on to like, we need to have better security on this campus?
Well, so both women report this, right? And so they're doing a lot trying to find like who's attacking our students. There is a stakeout.
Okay.
Like, because they know like he's coming at night. He's targeting students, particularly students walking alone. So they stake out the campus and he returns there a third time. This is 2 weeks later, and he's caught.
Okay.
He ends up pleading guilty. He does tend to do this. He pleaded guilty to rape, robbery, and kidnapping.
So he does seem to like understand what he's doing is wrong each time.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it better. In almost a way, it makes it worse.
Oh, because he has
Like, he has a conscience.
He has the ability to understand.
He knows it's wrong and he's still doing it.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, we were talking about how before, when he had raped the woman in Topanga Canyon area, he had been given just 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the rape and robbery charges here got very little time, but it's the fact that he was charged with kidnapping. This nets him a life sentence.
How is okay. Well, I'm glad for the life sentence, but how come the kidnapping is so much worse than like a brutal rape and beating?
Right.
I just don't understand. Shouldn't they be almost on the same level?
Well, I mean, I think those sentencing guidelines as a whole go towards giving us a better understanding of like how certain places and how we as a culture kind of view various crimes. So the fact that rape sentencing had such low sentencing guidelines, whereas kidnapping doesn't, just shows you like sort of the difference in how they kind of see each crime, right?
Well, and he basically left her for dead. So in his mind, he could have killed her.
Right.
So why would that be?
I know.
I will never understand that.
Now, in 2008, so this is many, many years later, he's still in prison, and his DNA, though, is matched with DNA that is found in the unsolved homicide of another unidentified woman than the woman we're talking about today.
Okay.
So she was known as Kern County Jane Doe. This woman had been found on July 14th, 1980, in an almond orchard in Kern County, California. She had been raped and stabbed 29 times. Now, as part of his conviction, Chouest's DNA had been added to CODIS, which is a database of all sorts of different crime information. And a match had been made after the DNA from the 1980 Kern County murder was finally uploaded to this database as well.
Okay.
So
he definitely did. So he's linked to the Kern County.
DNA linked to Kern County.
Okay.
Now, meanwhile, working on the Ventura County Jane Doe case is a man named Stephen Rhodes, who was a cold case investigator with the DA's office. He was frustrated from the start about how Ventura County Jane Doe's case was handled. For one, it became clear to Rhodes that the early investigators, again, had largely believed that Ventura County Jane Doe was a sex worker, and he felt that their lack of follow-through in identifying her or finding her killer was because of this, which we've seen.
He's not wrong. Right.
Yeah. Now, he said, I can't figure out where this comes from. I ask everybody, what's a prostitute look like? Why would you dismiss her in that way?
This is a man who knows, like, something. I think it feels like he's like on the right. Like, I don't know. We talk about these people all the time, like the investigators that are just like, oh, she's probably hitchhiking. So that like brings her down a little bit on their priorities. And she's probably a prostitute. That brings her down a little bit more. She's not white. That might bring her down a little bit more. And Stephen Rhodes comes in and he's like, what are we doing? Why do we care?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? Why are we still not looking at her? Why are we dismissing this?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, like, I wish his statement would go a little bit further, which is because he says, why would you dismiss her in that way? Meaning that, like, are we saying that people who are involved in sex work are dismissible?
So you want him to say like, why would you dismiss her at all?
Yes.
But I think maybe that's what he means. His like, intent. Maybe in that way, maybe he means like, why would you just like breezily dismiss somebody at all?
Yeah. Now, there's another member of the team working her case, Greg Hayes, and he learns that Ventura County Jane Doe, they still have her underwear and pants, and they were in storage. Okay. So, which is not necessarily always the case. We see all the time how kind of they're clearing out, they're moving out, and this evidence gets destroyed or lost, etc. So they still have this, and he asks that they be tested for DNA. Now, soon, DNA evidence collected from Ventura County Jane Doe's clothing and body were also linked to Chouest.
So now both women, they're saying both women have his DNA?
Yeah.
We'll be back in a moment.
So these two unidentified women, they know are linked to him.
And they were both raped and stabbed.
Yes.
Too, so.
Yeah. They're in different counties. They were found, though, 3 days apart from one another.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really,
Yeah. Now, they're still unidentified at this point, and the question, though, of who killed them, this finally has an answer, right? Like, that this had gone so long without any answers on who killed these women.
So I know that in this episode, we're talking about how Ventura County Jane Doe got her name back. Did Kern County Jane Doe ever get hers? Are we going to talk a little bit about that too? Or
yes.
Okay.
Because they both involve the DNA Doe Project being amazing. Okay.
Yes.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what happens with him, right?
Okay.
Because this also leads to identification and confirmation. Now, this case, it seems relatively solid because there's clear DNA evidence that link this man with who we know has a violent past to these murders of these two women. But everyone set to work filling in the gaps, hoping to make the case against Chouest even more airtight. So now that we know who he is, basically, they're saying, like, let's go back. Let's fill in the gaps. Where was he? What was he doing?
Okay.
That's when investigators trace his history, and they spoke to the woman he lived with when he got out of prison in 1980.
That pen pal?
That pen pal, right?
Okay.
So she'd been his pen pal again, and they'd lived together about 20 miles away from the College of the Sequoias, where he had attacked several young women. So it puts him in the vicinity of those attacks. Right?
So he was doing those attacks while he was living with her?
Yes. Now, that woman, her name's Carolyn, she had 3 children, and that July, which was just weeks after he moved in, Carolyn left him in charge of her 3 boys so that she could check into an alcohol detox program.
I'm really hoping, like, as a mom, that she did not know the full extent of his crimes before leaving her children with him.
Right. Like, this is just a lot, right?
It's a lot. It's hard. Like, I feel really bad for the kids.
Yeah. Now, investigators go and talk to her. They talk to those sons. They told investigators, one of those boys told investigators that he remembered that Chouest had disappeared one night, and then he came back home. Chouest sent him, the son, and his brother out to clean Chouest's green Chrysler. He said there was blood in the rear footwell of the car, and the boys were set to clean it. Now, Chouest claimed initially that it was from a deer that he had hit and that he'd put the deer in his car in order to move it from the road.
Okay. So that kind of, like, didn't scare the kids as much, probably.
We're cleaning up deer.
Right. It's just deer blood. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's less traumatizing than I thought.
But later, he told the teenager that he'd, quote, met some broad in a bar and killed her.
Wow. Okay. So what happened from that?
So no, the boys just like...
The boys didn't tell that to their mom?
I don't know what they told their mom, but this is not reported to authorities.
Well, because now they're terrified.
Right. This is the man you've been left, like...
Yeah.
With.
That's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, again, not reported to the cops. Not by the boys, not by their mom. And then not long after, in October, he's arrested for attacking the women at the College of the Sequoias. So this man gets out of prison and immediately goes on a killing and rape spree.
Yeah. And he's not really hiding it. Saying that to a boy that could go and tell a teacher or anyone.
Yeah, because he's like, I mean, that's like, to me, says something about his like confidence in.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's untouchable in this, right?
Yeah. Now, all of this, though, this information, it places him physically near the location where Ventura County Jane Doe was found. And there's eyewitness testimony that included cleaning blood around the time that Kern County Jane Doe and Ventura County Jane Doe were murdered. So they're kind of wrapping this case up, right? He actually does go to trial for these murders of both women and Ventura County Jane Doe's unborn son. After several weeks of trial, he was found guilty of murdering both women. But because there was an argument about the exact gestational age of the fetus, he was not convicted of that murder.
Do you have to be a certain age before they consider it murder? Or is it like, well, if it's not a certain age, there's no way he could know she was pregnant because she's not showing?
So this like varies by jurisdiction, how they handle pregnancy and murder, right? In this case, they're basically looking for the fetus to be of like viable gestational age.
Oh, so like living outside the body stage.
So like which is generally was considered about 5 months. Yeah.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with like the appearance. Like, oh, well, she wasn't showing, so he couldn't know.
No. So it's like, it's a question of,
Huh.
Yeah. Now, he received 2 life sentences, with Ventura County Superior Court Judge Ryan J. Wright stating, "Your last breath is going to be taken in state prison exactly where you deserve to be. And that's on my order." This is huge, right? There's his conviction, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Right.
Like, who's Ventura County Jane Doe? And now who is Kern County Jane Doe?
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Rhodes, again, the cold case investigator with the Ventura County DA's office, he just like is not about to let this rest. And in his online searches, he found the DNA Doe Project. Though the DNA Doe Project was one of the pioneers in using investigative genetic genealogy to identify Jane and John Does, at this time, this was a relatively new investigative tool. But after years of no developments in identifying either women, Rhodes was convinced that they would have success where others didn't. Mm-hmm. He's like, okay, we're gonna just try everything out here. Right? Mm-hmm. So the DNA Doe Project gets to work. Early work on the Kern County Jane Doe case had already indicated that she was at least 60% Native American, primarily from her mother's side of the family. But using publicly available DNA databases like GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, volunteers with the DNA Doe Project were able to dig even deeper. Through this, volunteers, they started to piece together those family trees, and they eventually pinpointed where the unidentified person might land in the family tree. They did have some success with her, and they were able to trace out a lot of her tree. And in September 2019, Kern County Jane Doe's second cousin uploaded their DNA information to the site, which got them much closer. But then they just hit a brick wall, right? They're like, we can't place her in this tree. We don't know who she is.
Okay.
So what the DNA Doe Project, and I really encourage all of our listeners to follow them on social media, promote their stuff, because this is huge. Because the DNA Doe Project, in this case, they put out a public plea looking for information. They included details of Kern County Jane Doe, basically where she might have been from, where her family was coming from, names that they were seeing, that kind of thing. And in their information, they included a distinct tattoo she had on her, which was the name Shirley. Many thought this tattoo commemorated a loved one, right? Like, I don't have a name tattoo. Do you have any name tattoos?
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like more of like symbolic tattoos.
They'd have to like read into your tattoo.
Yeah, well, yeah, something that I would know the meaning of, but I don't have any actual name ones.
So yeah, I've not gotten a name yet, but yeah, people do it to commemorate their loved ones, right?
Yeah.
So sitting in Canada is a woman named Violet, and she had last seen her aunt in 1977. She last received a postcard from her in 1979. And she and her family had logged countless hours and miles trying to find out what happened to her, but they had no luck until she sees this post on social media.
The post about like possibly Native American and this tattoo?
This tattoo, Kern County Jane Doe, they're trying to identify her. And she sees this post and she remembers that her aunt had said to her once that maybe she should get a tattoo of her name in case she went missing.
Was she suggesting this to Violet, or was she saying this about herself? Like, herself. Oh, maybe I'm going to go get one in case I go missing?
Yeah. Like, maybe I should get a tattoo of my own name, like tattoo my own
What would
name
make her worry about going missing?
So there's this pressing fear, very real fear among North America's indigenous populations because they are going missing at extraordinary rates.
So she actually knew this, acknowledged this, and said, like, I'm going to get my own name tattooed. Because this could be me.
Yeah, this is back in the 1970s, right? Like,
yeah. And it's, I mean, we've just keep seeing more and more about how this is definitely not an issue that's going away.
Yeah. I mean, I was just recently, Vanessa and I have an intern that's going to start with us soon. And I was gathering together cases for her. And like, when you see those missing Indigenous and Native women, and you see the lack of information in their case files, like, or their descriptions, it's completely shocking. And that's one of the reasons we haven't done more, is just like the lack of information.
Right.
Like, we know they're going missing. We know there's an issue, but we never move on beyond acknowledging it. right? Like, yeah.
So you introduced our little intern to the horrors
Not yet.
of this. You're going to?
Sure, we're going to have plenty of conversations, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this tattoo, like, so Violet sees it. She knows it's not a commemorative tattoo. Like, she knows that it's her aunt's name. Her aunt is Shirley Chouest, and that is Kern County Jane Doe's real name. They had to prove that it was true, so DNA tests were done and proved that Violet was right. And after being missing for almost 40 years, Shirley Chouest was returned to her family.
This part is so haunting, just that she mentioned that to Violet. Violet remembers this, and then that's exactly what she said.
Yeah.
Is how she solved her. Shirley basically solved her own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She knew.
Oof.
Which is, again, like, we talk a lot about the importance of, like we're always grateful to our listeners for, like, listening, but also, like, taking that extra step of, like, when you see a missing persons thing, you hear a story, like, sharing it, because sometimes it just needs to get in front of the right person. You know, so Violet just decides to go online that day and sees this post that has been shared. Other people are sharing it, right?
Yeah.
Now, this success in identifying Shirley, it bolsters everyone's hope that they would soon identify Ventura County Jane Doe. But like in Shirley's case, they just hit roadblock after roadblock. Hoping to try a new angle, DNA tests were run on Ventura County Jane Doe's unborn son to see if they could identify his father.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, because they hoped that, like, learning who he was would help them find a person who knew her, right?
Huh. So that's how they did it?
No.
No. Okay.
So they do get a hit. They find out this unborn child's biological father.
Okay.
They've only released that he was a Honduran immigrant with ties to Koreatown in LA. And investigators did make contact with him on the phone, but he denied knowing her or being the father.
So he could have solved it right then and there. He could have, like, given her name back right then and there, and he just refused?
So, okay. Records indicate that this man had been married and expecting a child with his wife in 1980. So there's two different places this could go. Like, it could be like giving out information about Ventura County Jane Doe could have revealed that he had an affair, and that's why he was just like, I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
Right, which is very selfish.
It is very selfish.
There's the other possibility, like, maybe they didn't actually know each other.
So he couldn't know her name.
Right.
Okay. I mean, both don't really put him in the best light.
No.
Both scenarios are kind of not great.
Yeah. But, like, you know, we don't know the circumstances yet of their relationship or what happened there. So, like, did they actually know one another? Was it like a one-night stand? Did they have a relationship with one another? Either way, this is a dead end and a brick wall for identifying
I hope
her.
there was a divorce in his future.
You're just putting that out there.
I'm just putting that out there.
So this sends the DNA Doe Project back to work building out her tree, right? Because
okay, yeah, they have to do it themselves now.
yeah, they're like, that didn't work. So again, what is happening behind the scenes here is there is just a lack of connections in the databases. They're building out this massive tree, right? And by 2023, they start asking publicly if anyone had ties to 5 sisters of the Parga family who have been the daughters of Martin Parga and Caterina Montellano.
So from the DNA they were able to piece together kind of like this family?
Yeah, so they've pinpointed it's a couple from the 1800s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, who had 5 daughters, and they're trying to find people who are connected to them.
So that could end up being massive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically they've, like, pinpointed where in the giant family tree, like, which branch she's on, but they don't have enough people at the ends of those branches to kind of fill in all the data under there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, her ancestry showed that her family had connections throughout northeastern and central Mexico. And part of the difficulty in identifying her was, again, that Latin populations are underrepresented in DNA databases. So this is why they're like, please, someone come forward. So they're working to track down all of these descendants of Martin and Caterina. And they're also sending out investigators to like talk to people, get DNA tests out to people, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, investigators spoke to a man, and what he said changed everything. That man was the great-grandson of Martin Parga. His sister had been missing since 1980. Her name was Maricela Rocha Parga.
Okay, so I have a lot of mentions of Parga here, but where did the Rocha come from?
Oh, yeah. So this is a little bit easier because you're Canadian.
Okay.
Yeah, so like in the US, we tend to be a paternal surname setup, right?
So kids get their dad's name.
Kids tend to get their dad's name.
Yeah.
But in many other cultures, including Latin cultures, Hispanic cultures, Quebec cultures, people get their...
Okay, so Rocha's her mom's name.
Or her one of them. Yeah. I mean, this is fascinating to me because my kid has a double last name.
So do mine.
And like, I don't know if you've been treated this way, but like people act like so weird about it in the US, in like upstate New York.
I don't think I've had anyone act weird about it. I mean, but like you still go by your maiden name as well.
Yes.
And I do too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when people see that, they just kind of like get it. Or are they still trying to call you by your husband's name?
I still get things addressed to my husband's name, and my husband's family, love you all. They send me cards with his last name.
Okay. So I never have anyone doing that. I never have anyone. Is it
because you're like Canadian?
Maybe. Or maybe they just, I have no idea. I don't know why they would be like imposing that on you and not on me.
I don't know.
And nobody's ever questioned my kids about it. But
oh, yeah.
Is it because it must be because you're American?
Maybe. Yeah. So my kid has gotten like people will call her by her dad's last name.
Okay.
And which is weird because...
And is it fully like hyphenated or is
it's fully hyphenated. Mine comes first.
Yeah. Typically, I think it's still like the woman's name coming first.
Yeah.
So mine are like that. I did, because I knew that we were going to be moving here and I wanted them to be kind of like Americanized. Mm-hmm. I did put my last name as a middle name.
Oh,
so they have two middle names each.
Got it.
Their middle name and then my last name. Then their dad's name. So they have the choice of using it or not. But my son actually prefers to hyphenate.
Okay.
Which they can do.
Yeah. So mine, she has a middle name, just one, and then last name is doubled. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. But
Okay. So it's most likely like mom and dad's name.
Yeah. So this is fascinating. That was a complete aside.
That was a complete aside. Well, I wasn't sure if it was like if she got married or to somebody else or where that came from. So
now back to identifying her. Carl Kopelman, who had worked as a volunteer on Maricela's case, said, "For 7 years, I worked almost every week trying to solve the mysteries presented by this case. I often wonder, after the passage of so many years, whether our Jane Doe still had living family members searching for answers." And Maricela did. After her brother, Ronaldo Rocha, spoke with investigators, he booked a flight from Texas to California the next day, and his sister, Alma, did the same, flying in from Florida. DNA tests that they took confirmed that Ventura County Jane Doe was indeed their sister. In February 2026, the siblings and other members of their family assembled as Ventura County held a press conference announcing the news. Finally, after 46 years of not knowing, Maricela Rocha Parga's family knew what happened to her. In 1980, Maricela was a 22-year-old woman who had been born in Monterrey, Mexico, but had been living in Los Angeles with her family, including her 2-year-old daughter. She worked as a waitress and was studying to become a nurse. The family realized that something was wrong when Maricela failed to bring a cake to her 10-year-old sister's birthday party gathering. I remember knowing that then, but there must have been something wrong for her not to come back, because she had to. She cared for us. She looked after us, Alma said in a recent press release. She was a joyful soul, Ronaldo said. She was very, very caring for us. Though none of the family believed that she would have left them voluntarily, one of Maricela's siblings remained in the house they lived in when Maricela went missing, hoping that she would return to them. And their mother died, never knowing what happened to her child. When my mom passed away, Ronaldo said, she kept mentioning her name. With the news of their sister's identification also comes heartbreak, particularly learning about the last moments of her life. My experience, Alma said, has been totally a journey because you find out details and things that maybe you don't want to know. The horrible way she passed. They keep playing that movie in your head over and over, the last minutes and the last seconds of her life.
Sounds like she was very like family oriented. She had a 2-year-old to take care of and having like a 10-year-old sibling.
Yeah.
You know,
so she is the second oldest of 9 children.
But we know that like oldest in families usually are become like second parents to some of these kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't make sense for her to just leave. Like I completely agree with like the way her brother and sister were feeling with this.
And they're like, she's supposed to be bringing the cake, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way she's letting her little sister down.
Ugh, but also for that little 10-year-old to just never have gotten this cake from her.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, right? Like to think about.
Yeah.
It seems like such a small thing, right? Bringing a cake, but it's like everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, want to give a huge shout out to the DNA Doe Project because in identifying her, they spent thousands of hours on her case. Over 40 volunteers built out that family tree with over 125,000 individuals on it over the course of that 7 years. Each entry brought them closer and closer to finding her name. Now, this case truly represents the tenacity of the DNA Doe Project and the passion they have doing in this work, which was reuniting families with their lost loved ones, giving the unidentified their name backs. Rebecca Summerhalder, the project team leader on Maricela's case, said, "Having spent over 6 years working on this case, I was honored to play a part in finally giving Ventura County Jane Doe her name back. Our hearts go out to Maricela's family, and she has finally returned home to her loved ones who kept her in their thoughts for all these years." Again, I hope all of our listeners will share this story and support the DNA Doe Project, who right now, as I record this, are continuing their work for other families.
Stillness Guzzle. Unidentified woman discovered July 18th, 1980 in Thousand Oaks, California. The whole world is burning down, and we're still here at the edge, mothering strangers still. Through the flickering lights, past the devils, in the shadows, their knives drawn, we search still. The young deer make their way through groves, new almond shells green, the summer air before dawn still. What if we could watch for them instead? Follow the slim lines of their legs through the grass still. You and I could pretend the night didn't spin close, that we couldn't hear cars on the highway still. Imagine laying on our backs in a high school parking lot, watching the stars above without peering into the dark still. We could breathe our names into the light, hold them up in the moonlight. But in this world, we say Ventura still.
For more information about our show, please visit shegoesbyjanepodcast.com.
Bye, Vanessa.
Bye, Amy.